The crystal being known as Keth-7 stood before the great communication array, his translucent body shimmering with fear. Around him, the other members of the Zephyrian Council whispered in their musical language, their voices like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. But there was no gentleness in their words now, only terror. "The harvesters have taken the outer worlds," Keth-7 said, his voice cracking like breaking glass. "Veth-Prim is gone. Elenfor is silent. They will be here within 7 cycles." Council chamber fell quiet. Through the transparent walls they could see their beautiful world below. Cities of living crystal grew from the ground like flowers, their surfaces catching and reflecting the light of their twin suns. Parks filled with singing plants stretched between the urban areas. Children played in pools of liquid starlight, their laughter echoing through the air. All of it would be gone soon. Elder Vashwan raised one of her many arms. "Have we heard anything from the other worlds? Any response to our calls for help?" Keth-7's glow dimmed. "Nothing. The Galactic Council debates. The Tyrone Empire says it is not their concern. The Mechanical Collective offers to purchase our art. Before we die," he paused, his form flickering with rage, "they treat us like we are already dead." The truth was simple and terrible. The Zephyrians had never learned to fight. Their world was perfect, their society peaceful. They had spent millions of years creating art, exploring science, and living in harmony with their environment. They had no weapons, no armies, no knowledge of war. And now the harvesters had come. The machines were ancient, older than most civilizations. They moved from system to system, consuming everything in their path. Entire worlds were stripped bare, their populations absorbed into the Mechanical Collective. The harvesters turned living beings into fuel, their bodies into raw materials, their minds into processing power. No one had ever stopped them. "We must try the deep space channels," Keth-7 said finally. "Send our message to every frequency, every system we can reach. Someone must help us." Elder Vashwan touched his shoulder gently. "Who would come? We have nothing to offer, warriors." "No, nothing of violence." "Then we offer what we have," Keth-7 replied. "Everything." He moved to the communication array, his crystalline fingers dancing over the controls. The message would go out in every language they knew, on every frequency they could access. It would travel farther than any Zephyrian message had ever gone, reaching into the unknown depths of space. "To any who can hear this," Keth-7 began, his voice being recorded and transmitted across the galaxy. "We are the Zephyrians of the Keth system. We are dying. Our children face extinction. The harvesters come to consume our world, and we have no way to stop them. We are not warriors. We know nothing of war. But we know art, science, and love. We offer everything we have to any who will help us. Please, someone must hear this. Must come." The message went out, racing through space at impossible speeds. It would take time to reach the distant stars, time the Zephyrians might not have. 1,200 light-years away. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking coffee in the command center of the exploration vessel Aurora. The ship was 3 months into a survey mission, mapping new star systems for the Earth's colonial authority. It was quiet work, mostly automated, which gave Jake time to catch up on reports and think about home. Jake was a tall man with graying hair and calm brown eyes. He had been in space for 15 years, first as a military officer, then as an explorer. He liked the quiet of deep space, the endless possibilities that waited behind every star. "Captain," called Communications Officer Ben Carter from his station. "I'm picking up something odd." Jake set down his coffee and walked over. Ben was young, maybe 25, with bright red hair and freckles. He was also one of the best communications specialists in the fleet. "What kind of odd?" Jake asked. "It's a signal, but not like anything I've seen before. It's coming from way out there, maybe 1,000 light-years. Frequency is all wrong for human tech." Jake felt a familiar tingle of excitement. First contact protocols were drilled into every deep space crew, but most captains never got to use them. "Can you clean it up?" Ben's fingers flew over his controls. "Working on it. Signal is strong, but it's not directed at us. It's broadcasting in all directions, like a distress call. The main screen flickered, and static filled the speakers. Slowly, Ben began to filter out the noise. What emerged was a voice, strange and musical, speaking in a language none of them had ever heard. "Lisa," Jake called to Dr. Lisa Grant, the ship's xenobiologist. "You need to hear this." Dr. Grant was a small woman with dark hair and intense green eyes. She had spent her career studying the possibility of alien life. But like everyone else on the Aurora, she had never actually encountered any. She hurried over to listen. The alien voice continued, desperate and pleading. Even though they couldn't understand the words, the emotion was clear. This was a cry for help. "Can you translate it?" Jake asked. Lisa was already working, her portable computer connected to the communication system. "Give me a few minutes. The language structure is completely different from anything on Earth, but there are patterns." For the next hour, Lisa worked with Ben to decode the message. They used every linguistic program they had, every translation algorithm in their database. Slowly, words began to emerge from the alien speech. "We are dying," Lisa read from her screen. "Our children face extinction. Any who can hear this, please help us." The command center fell silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen as Lisa continued translating. "We are the Zephyrians of the Keth system. The harvesters come to consume our world, and we have no way to stop them. We are not warriors. We know nothing of war. But we know art, science, and love. We offer everything we have to any who will. Help us." Jake felt something twist in his chest. The voice on the recording was breaking, filled with hopelessness and fear. These beings, whoever they were facing extinction, and they were asking for help. "How far away are they?" he asked. Ben checked his instruments. The signal originated from a system about 800 light-years from here. If we left now, it would take us 3 weeks to reach them using the slipstream drive. Jake nodded slowly. The slipstream drive was humanity's newest technology, allowing ships to travel faster than light by riding waves in space-time. It was still experimental, but it worked. "Sir," said Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, the weapons officer, "we should report this to Earth Command first. First contact protocols require authorization." Jake looked at the main screen where the alien message continued to play. The voice was so desperate, so afraid. How long did these Zephyrians have before these harvesters arrived? How many calls for help had they sent out with no response? "Send the message to Admiral Sullivan," Jake said finally. "Full encryption. Priority 1. But start plotting a course to the Keth system." Sam looked surprised. "Sir, we don't have authorization to make contact." "No," Jake agreed. "But we have authorization to investigate unknown phenomena. And a distress call from an alien civilization definitely qualifies as unknown phenomena." Lisa looked up from her work. "Jake, if these harvesters are real, we might be flying into a war zone. The Aurora isn't a warship." "Be not," Jake said. "But we're human, and humans don't ignore calls for help." He turned to address the whole crew. "I'm setting course for the Keth system. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship when we report to Earth Command can do so. But I think we need to find out what's happening to these people." The crew exchanged glances. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. But they were also human, and the alien voice had touched something deep inside them. "I'm in," Ben said first. "Me too," Lisa added. One by one, the rest of the crew agreed. They would go to the Keth system. They would answer the call for help. As the Aurora changed course and entered slipstream, Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien civilization was facing extinction. They had asked for help, and humanity was coming. He just hoped they wouldn't be too late. The Aurora dropped out of slipstream at the edge of the Keth system with a flash of blue light. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the main screen as their sensors began to pick up signals from the inner planets. What they found made his blood run cold. 2 worlds were already dead. The third planet, once green and blue like Earth, was now a brown shell of rock and metal. The fourth planet was in the process of being consumed. Massive mechanical structures covered its surface like a disease, stripping away everything that had once lived there. "Jesus Christ," whispered Ben Carter from his communication station. What did this? Dr. Lisa Grant was studying the sensor readings, her face pale. The energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever those machines are, they're converting organic matter into some kind of fuel. The entire ecosystem of that planet is being processed. Jake felt sick. They had seen war zones before, but this was different. This was not conquest or destruction. This was consumption. These harvesters were literally eating entire worlds. "Sir," called Sam Rodriguez from Weapons, "I'm detecting 3 massive ships in orbit around the 4th planet. Each one is about the size of a small moon." "Those must be the harvesters," Jake said. "How long until they reach the 5th planet?" Lisa checked her calculations. "At their current rate of consumption, maybe 2 weeks. The Zephyrians don't have much time." Jake nodded grimly. "Take us to the 5th planet. Maximum stealth. See what we're dealing with." The Aurora moved deeper into the system, her advanced sensors mapping everything they could see. The 5th planet was beautiful, covered in crystal cities that sparkled in the light of the twin suns. But even from space, they could see the panic below. Ships were fleeing the planet, heading for the outer system. "Captain," Ben said, "I'm receiving multiple transmissions from the planet. They're trying to coordinate an evacuation, but they don't have enough ships. Most of their population is still on the surface." Jake made a decision that would change everything. Open a channel to the planet. All frequencies. Ben looked surprised. "Sir, first contact protocols are meant for peaceful situations," Jake finished. "But this is a rescue mission. Open the channel." The main screen flickered in. Jake found himself looking at one of the most beautiful sights he had ever seen. The alien who appeared on screen was made of living crystal, his body shifting through different colors as he spoke. This was Ket 7, though Jake didn't know his name yet. Both sides stared at each other in shock.
Oh.
The Zephyrians had never seen anything like humans before. Jake was tall and solid, with weathered features and steady brown eyes. To the crystal beings, he looked like a creature made of stone and violence. "Oh, you came," Ket 7 said in broken English, his voice like music mixed with breaking glass. "You heard our call." "We heard," Jake replied. "We're here to help." "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Aurora. Can you understand me?" Ket 7's form flickered with amazement. "Human. You are from the Deathworld the databases speak of. Terra, the world of endless war and poisoned sky." Jake frowned. "Deathworld? Earth isn't a deathworld. It's just ... challenging." Dr. Lisa Grant stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Lisa Grant, our xenobiologist. We received your distress signal and came as quickly as we could. Can you tell us about these harvesters?" Ket 7's glow dimmed with fear. Ancient machines, consume worlds, absorb life into their collective. No one has ever stopped them. They have destroyed thousands of civilizations over millions of years. Have you tried to fight them? Fight. We do not understand this word in this context. Ryan and Jake exchanged glances. "You've never fought anyone? Never had wars?" "War is a concept we learned from other species databases," Ket 7 explained. "We do not understand why beings would hurt each other. Our world has no predators, no diseases, no natural disasters. We have lived in peace for millions of years." Lisa's eyes widened. "You evolved in paradise. Your species never developed survival instincts." "We create art," Ket 7 said proudly. "We study science, make music from the light of stars. But we do not know how to ... fight." Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. These were innocent beings, as helpless as children, and the harvesters were coming to consume them. "We need to see your defenses," Ryan said. "What weapons do you have?" Ket 7 brightened slightly. "We have powerful energy projectors. They can move mountains, reshape continents. We use them to build our cities. But can they hurt the harvesters?" Lisa asked. Cap 7's glow faded. "We have tried. The machines absorb our energy, use it to make themselves stronger. Our most powerful weapons only feed them." Jake turned to his crew. "We need to see those harvesters up close. Sam, how are our weapon systems?" Sam Rodriguez was a small, tough woman with sharp, dark eyes. "We have standard kinetic weapons, plasma cannons, and nuclear missiles. Nothing too fancy, but they pack." "A punch. Those are primitive weapons," Ket 7 said, not meaning to insult. "Surely your energy-based systems are more advanced." "We still use bullets and explosives," Ryan explained. "Sometimes the old ways work best." Kef 7 stared at them in amazement. "You are from a death world. You know how to destroy things." "We know how to survive," Jake corrected. "And that means protecting what's worth protecting." Dr. Grant was studying the sensor data from the dead planets. "Captain, I'm seeing something interesting. The harvesters seem to be designed to counter advanced energy weapons. Their shields are specifically built to absorb and redirect that kind of attack." "But what about kinetic weapons?" Jake asked. "I don't think they've ever encountered them," Lisa said excitedly. "Look at their armor plating. It's designed to handle energy, not physical impact." Chief Engineer Danny Price joined the conversation. Danny was a quiet man who preferred machines to people, but he knew his job better than anyone. "Captain, if these harvesters have been fighting advanced civilizations for millions of years, they probably don't know how to handle primitive weapons." Jake smiled grimly. "You mean they've never fought anyone who still uses bullets and bombs?" "Exactly," Danny said. "They're like a computer virus that only knows how to handle modern software. They wouldn't know what to do with an old-fashioned punch in the face." On the screen, Keth 7 was listening to their conversation with growing hope. "You believe you can fight them?" "We believe we have to try," Jake said. "But we need to know more. Can you show us recordings of their attacks? We need to understand how they work." For the next several hours, the Zephyrians shared everything they knew about the harvesters. The machines were ancient, possibly older than any living civilization. They moved methodically from system to system, consuming everything in their path. They absorbed the consciousness of every living being, trapping billions of minds inside their collective. "They keep the minds alive?" Lisa asked in horror. "Yes," Kes 7 confirmed. "We believe this is how they maintain their knowledge. Every species they have consumed still exists within them, aware but powerless." Jake felt anger building in his chest. These machines weren't just killing entire civilizations. They were torturing them for eternity. "We need to see one of these ships up close," he decided. "Danny, can you modify our sensors for a stealth?" "Approach." Danny nodded. "I can mask our energy signature, make us look like space debris. But if they scan us actively, they'll spot us." "Do it," Jake ordered. "We're going to take a look at these harvesters." As the Aurora prepared for its reconnaissance mission, Jake found himself thinking about Earth. His home world was violent and dangerous compared to the Zephyrian paradise. Humans had evolved fighting each other, fighting disease, fighting nature. Itself, they had learned to be tough, adaptable, and ruthless when necessary. Maybe that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Captain Ben called out, "I'm detecting movement from the Harvester fleet. They're starting to move toward this planet." Jake looked at the peaceful crystal cities below, knowing that millions of innocent beings were about to die. Unless humanity could find a way to stop machines that had been unstoppable for millions of years. "All right, people," he said to his crew, "it's time to see what we're made of." The Aurora turned toward the approaching Harvester fleet, carrying the hopes of an entire species and the determination of beings who had never learned to give up. The Aurora drifted silently through space, disguised as a piece of floating debris. Captain Jake Morrison watched the main screen as the massive harvester ships grew larger. Each one was the size of a small city, covered in dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange geometric patterns covered their hulls, and mechanical arms reached out like the legs of enormous spiders. "How are we looking, Danny?" Jake asked quietly. Chief Engineer Danny Price checked his instruments. "Stealth systems are holding. We look like a chunk of rock to their sensors." Dr. Lisa Grant was recording everything, her eyes wide with fascination and terror. "The energy readings are incredible. Each ship has enough power to run Earth's entire electrical grid for 1,000 years. "That's a lot of juice," muttered Sam Rodriguez from the weapons station. What are they using it for? Their question was answered as they watched the harvesters work. The machines extended long tubes toward the fourth planet, sucking up everything on the surface. Mountains disappeared, oceans evaporated. Even the atmosphere was being consumed. They're not just mining, Lisa whispered. They're eating the entire planet. Commander Ryan Hayes pointed to the screen. Look at those smaller ships. Hundreds of small craft swarmed around the main vessels like insects. Each one was about the size of a human fighter, but they moved with perfect coordination. No human pilot could fly with such precision. Drones, Jake said. Probably controlled by the main ships. Sir, Ben Carter called from communications. I'm picking up transmissions from the Harvester fleet. They're not using any encryption. Can you translate? Jake asked. Ben worked for a few minutes, then shook his head. It's not language. Pure data. Numbers, coordinates, energy readings. They're coordinating the consumption of the planet like a computer program. Jake felt a chill. These weren't just machines. They were a hive mind, thinking and acting as one. No individual thoughts, no emotions, no hesitation, just cold efficiency. Captain, Sam said suddenly, the lead ship is changing course. It's heading straight for the Zephyrian homeworld. Jake watched as the massive vessel began to move. It was slow, but relentless, like a mountain deciding to walk. How long until it reaches the planet? He asked. Lisa checked her calculations. Ta-ta! Current speed, maybe 6 hours. Jake made a decision that would shock the Zephyrians and change the course of galactic history. Set course for the lead ship. We're going to attack. The bridge fell silent. Ryan was the first to speak. Sir, that thing is 1,000 times our size. Our weapons won't even scratch it. Maybe, Jake said. But we're going to try anyway. Sam, what do we have that can hurt that ship? Sam pulled up the weapons inventory. Nuclear missiles, plasma cannons, and railguns. The nukes are our biggest punch, but against something that size, ... Double quotes. She shrugged. The railguns fire solid metal slugs at incredible speed, Danny added. Pure kinetic energy. If Lisa is right about their shields being designed for energy weapons, the slugs might punch through. Jake nodded. That's what we're counting on. Ben, open a channel to the Zephyrian planet. Tell them what we're doing. Ben's fingers flew over his controls. A moment later, Ket 7's crystal form appeared on the screen. Behind him, other Zephyrians were visible, their forms dim with despair. Captain Morrison, Ket 7 said, the harvesters are moving toward our world. We are preparing for the end. No, Jake said firmly. We're going to stop them. Ket 7's glow flickered with confusion. Stop them? How? Your ship is so small. Sometimes size doesn't matter, Jake replied. Sometimes you just need to hit the right spot, watch and learn. The Aurora broke from its hiding place and accelerated toward the lead harvester ship. The massive vessel didn't even notice them at first. To something that size, the human ship was like a mosquito approaching an elephant. Weapons ready, Sam reported, targeting their main hull. Fire, Jake ordered. The Aurora's railguns opened. Fire, sending solid metal slugs racing toward the harvester at incredible speed. The slugs slammed into the alien ship's hull with tremendous force, punching through armor that had withstood energy weapons for millions of years. Alarms began sounding throughout the harvester fleet. For the first time in eons, something had actually hurt them. Direct hit, Sam reported with excitement. We punched holes right through their armor. The harvester ship began to turn, its massive bulk moving to face this tiny threat. Weapon ports opened along its hull, revealing energy. Cannons that could vaporize a city. Incoming fire, Ryan warned. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the harvester, but Jake was ready. Evasive maneuvers. The Aurora twisted and spun through space, using its small size and speed to avoid the massive energy blasts. The harvester's weapons were designed to hit large, slow targets. It couldn't track something as small and fast as the human ship. They're not used to fighting fighters, Jake realized. They've always fought big ships that can't dodge. Like a whale trying to swat a fly, Lisa said with growing excitement. The Aurora made another attack run, this time targeting the Harvester's weapon systems. The railguns fired again, destroying several of the alien cannons. Chunks of metal and sparks flew from the massive ship. On the Zephyrian homeworld, billions of crystal beings watched in amazement as the tiny human ship danced around the enormous Harvester, striking again and again. They had never seen anything like it. How are they doing this? What? They are from a death world, Kev-7 replied with growing awe. They know how to fight. Back on the Aurora, Jake was planning their next move. Sam, load nuclear missiles. We're going to try something crazy. How crazy? Sam asked. We're going to fly inside that ship and detonate a nuke in their main reactor. The bridge crew stared at him. Sir, Ryan said carefully, that's suicide, maybe Jake admitted. But if we can take out their main ship, the others might retreat. It's worth the risk. Before anyone could argue, Ben called out urgently. Captain, I'm detecting smaller ships launching from the Harvester fleet. Hundreds of them. The screen. Filled with Harvester drones, each one the size of a fighter jet. They moved with perfect coordination surrounding the Aurora in a deadly cloud. They're trying to swarm us, Sam said. Jake smiled grimly. Then let's give them a swarm to remember. All weapons, free fire. Show them what human ingenuity looks like. The Aurora's guns opened fire in all directions. Plasma cannons blazed, cutting. Through the drone swarm, railguns fired constantly, their metal slugs punching through multiple drones at once. The ship spun and twisted, using every trick in the book to avoid the return fire. But there were too many enemies. Slowly, the drones began to close in. Hull breach on deck 3, Danny reported. We're taking damage. Shields down to 40%, added Sam. Jake watched the tactical display. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1, but they were still fighting, still inflicting damage on an enemy that had never been hurt before. Ben, send a message to Earth, Jake ordered. Tell them what we've learned? Tell them these things can be hurt. Already done, sir, Ben replied. Message sent 20 minutes ago, Jake nodded. Even if they didn't survive, Earth would know. Humanity would know that the Harvesters could be beaten. The Aurora shuddered as more drone fire hit home. Systems began failing throughout the ship. But in the depths of space, something was happening that would change everything. A new signal appeared on the Aurora's sensors, then another and another. Captain Ben said with growing excitement, I'm detecting slipstream signatures. Ships dropping out of FTL. Jake looked at the display and smiled. Well, I'll be damned. Ships were arriving from Earth, dozens of them. Military vessels, corporate ships, private explorers. The message Jake had sent home had been received, and humanity was responding. Looks like the cavalry is here, Ryan said. Jake opened a channel to the incoming fleet. This is Captain Morrison of the Aurora. Nice of you to join the party. A familiar voice crackled over the radio. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan aboard the Terra Nova. We got your message, Jake. Thought you might need some help. Jake looked at the swarm of human ships filling the space around them. Each one was small compared to the Harvesters, but together, they represented something the galaxy had never seen before. An entire species ready to fight for strangers. Admiral Jake said, Welcome to the war. The space around the Zephyrian system filled with human ships. They came from every direction, dropping out of slipstream like stars being born. Military vessels with sharp angles and heavy armor, corporate exploration ships built for long journeys. Private craft that looked like they had been put together in someone's garage. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. She was a tall woman with silver hair and steel-gray eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind her, the command center buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the growing fleet. How many ships do we have? She asked her aide. 67 and counting, Admiral, replied Lieutenant Commander Nancy Walsh. More arriving every hour. Kate nodded. When Jake Morrison's message had reached Earth, the response had been immediate and overwhelming. Every branch of the military had volunteered ships. Corporations had offered their vessels. Private citizens had demanded to help. Admiral called Communications Officer Tony Blake. Captain Morrison is requesting permission to come aboard. Granted, Kate said. Me a full tactical briefing. I want to know everything about these harvesters. 20 minutes later, Jake Morrison stood in the Terra Nova's briefing room, his uniform torn and his face streaked with dirt from the battle. Around the table sat the commanders of the human fleet,
Captain Tom Brady,
of the military destroyer, Liberty, Captain Maria Santos of the European research vessel Horizon, Captain Pete Williams of the converted mining ship Rusty Bucket. Gentlemen, ladies, Kate began, we're here because an alien species asked for help. What we've discovered is that we're facing something that has been destroying civilizations for millions of years. Jake activated the holographic display, showing the massive harvester ships. These things are huge, but they have weaknesses. Their shields are designed to handle energy weapons, but kinetic weapons go right through them. Bullets, missiles, railguns, slugs. The old-fashioned stuff works. Captain Brady leaned forward. What about their numbers? 3 main ships, each with thousands of drone fighters, Jake replied. The drones are coordinated by the main ships. Take out the mothership, and the drones should be confused. Captain Santos studied the tactical data. Their ships are enormous. How do we hurt something that big? We go inside, Jake said simply. Their holes are thick. But once you're through, they're not designed for internal fighting. We board them, find their main systems, and blow them. Up from the inside, the room fell quiet. Captain Williams was the first to speak. You're talking about boarding actions against ships the size of cities? That's insane. Maybe, Jake agreed. But it's the only way to free the trapped minds inside. Those ships, the harvesters have been collecting the consciousness of every species they've destroyed. Billions of beings are trapped inside those machines, aware but helpless. Kate felt anger burn in her chest. The idea of imprisoning minds for millions of years was horrifying beyond words. How many troops do we have? She asked. About 3,000 Marines and security personnel, Nancy replied, plus whatever volunteers we can get from the civilian ships. Kate nodded. Not many for ships that size, but it will have to do. Looked around the table. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to attempt the largest boarding action in human history. Our goal is not just to defeat these machines, but to free every consciousness they've imprisoned. Captain Brady activated his own display. I've been studying the enemy formation. They're moving in a line toward the Zephyrian homeworld. If we hit them simultaneously from multiple directions, we can divide their attention. The Liberty and the other military ships will provide fire support, Kate decided. Draw their attention and punch holes in their hulls. The smaller, faster ships will carry boarding parties inside. Dr. Lisa Grant, who had transferred from the Aurora, spoke up. I've been working with the Zephyrian scientists. I think they can help us identify the consciousness storage systems inside the harvester ships. If we can find those systems, we might be able to free the trapped minds. Captain Santos nodded. The Horizon has the best medical facilities in the fleet. We can serve as a hospital ship for any rescued beings. What about weapons? Asked Captain Williams. My mining ship isn't exactly built for war. Jake smiled grimly. Mining equipment makes excellent weapons. Cutting lasers, excavation charges, industrial manipulator arms. Sometimes the tools of creation work just fine for destruction. Over the next few hours, the human fleet prepared for battle. Ships were reorganized into attack groups. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Marines prepared their equipment knowing they were about to board ships unlike anything they had ever seen on the Zephyrian homeworld. Billions of crystal beings watched the preparations with amazement. They had never seen anything like the human fleet. The ships were different sizes and designs, but they all carried the same message. Humanity had come to help. They are so few, one Zephyrian said to Ket 7. How can they defeat the harvesters? Ket 7's crystal form pulsed with hope. They are Deathworlders. They do not know how to give up. Ambassador Ket 7 was aboard the Terra Nova now, working with the human command staff. He provided everything the Zephyrians knew about the harvesters, while marveling at the human approach to warfare. You coordinate differently than other species, he observed to Admiral Sullivan. Each ship operates independently, but works toward the same goal. Kate smiled. That's how humans work. We're individuals, but we come together when it matters. The final ship to arrive was perhaps the most unexpected. The civilian transport Happy Traveler dropped out of Slipstream carrying 500 volunteers from Earth. Teachers, engineers, doctors, and retired soldiers. All of them had demanded to join the rescue mission. Captain Linda Foster of the Happy Traveler reported to Admiral Sullivan. I know we're not military, Admiral, but my passengers insisted on coming. They said if aliens needed help, humans should provide it. Kate looked at the manifest of volunteers and shook her head in amazement. This is either the most noble thing our species has ever done, or the most stupid. Maybe both, Captain Foster replied with a grin, as the human fleet formed up for attack. The harvesters continued their relentless approach toward the Zephyrian homeworld. The massive ships showed no concern for the growing human presence. Why? Should they? They had destroyed thousands of civilizations. What could one more species do against them? We're about to find out. All ships. This is Admiral Sullivan. Kate broadcast to the fleet. In 1 hour, we will begin the attack. Our mission is simple. Board those ships and free every consciousness. Trapped inside them, this is not about conquest or revenge. This is about liberation. She paused, looking out at the stars where the harvester fleet waited. The beings trapped in those ships have been waiting millions of years for rescue. They've probably given up hope long ago. Today we show them that hope is never truly dead. Today we show the galaxy what humans do when someone asks for help. Across the fleet, crews made final preparations. Weapons were loaded. Boarding shuttles were fueled. Marines checked their equipment one last time. Captain Morrison, back aboard the Aurora, looked at his crew. They had started this mission as explorers and scientists. And now they were about to become liberators. You know, Ben Carter said from his communication station, when I joined the Deep Space Service, I thought the most exciting thing I'd do was discover a new planet. Instead, you get to help free billions of trapped minds, Lisa Grant replied. Not a bad day's work. Jake activated the ship's intercom. This is the captain. In 30 minutes, we begin the attack on the Harvester fleet. We're going to do something that has never been done before. We're going to board those ships and free everyone inside them. He looked out at the massive alien vessels, knowing that somewhere inside them, countless beings waited for rescue. Let's go save some people. The human fleet struck like lightning across the dark of space. Dozens of ships attacked the 3 massive harvester vessels simultaneously, their weapons blazing with deadly purpose. Railguns fired streams of metal slugs. Plasma cannons cut brilliant lines through the void. Nuclear missiles exploded against ancient armor that had never been breached. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched from the Terra Nova as the battle unfolded. The harvesters were reacting with confusion and rage. For the first time in millions of years, something was hurting them. Their energy weapons lashed out wildly, trying to swat the small human ships that danced around them like angry wasps. Boarding parties away, reported Lieutenant Commander Nancy Walsh. All attack groups are launching. Small shuttles and fighters raced toward the harvester ships, carrying Marines and volunteers into the heart of enemy vessels. Each boarding craft was loaded with cutting tools, explosives, and the determination to free beings who had been trapped for eons. Captain Jake Morrison piloted his shuttle toward the lead harvester ship, accompanied by Sergeant Mike Johnson and 20 Marines. Behind them, Dr. Lisa Grant worked frantically with Zephyrian Ambassador Keth 7 to locate the consciousness storage systems. There, Keth 7 pointed to his scanner display, his crystal form pulsing with excitement.
Oh.
The central core shows massive energy signatures. That must be where they keep the absorbed minds. The shuttle shook as harvester defensive fire exploded around them. Mike Johnson gripped his rifle tighter, checking his equipment one more time. He was a big man with calm eyes and steady hands, the kind of soldier who never gave up. 30 seconds to impact, Jake called back. Everyone hang on. The shuttle slammed into the harvester hull, its cutting torch boring through metal that was older than human civilization. Emergency lights flashed as the craft punched into the alien ship's interior. Go, go, go. Mike shouted, leading his Marines into the breach. The inside of the harvester ship was like walking through a nightmare. Corridors stretched in impossible directions, filled with mechanical tendrils and pulsing energy conduits. The air hummed with power, and strange lights flickered along the walls. "This place is huge," muttered Corporal Andy Taylor, sweeping his rifle back and forth. "It's like a mechanical city." Behind them, Lisa and Ket-7 followed with their scanning equipment. "The consciousness storage should be deeper in the ship," Lisa said. "Follow the main energy conduits." They moved through the alien corridors, encountering mechanical defenders that looked like metal spiders. The harvester drones attacked with energy weapons, but the human Marines responded with bullets and grenades. The machines were not prepared for such primitive tactics. On the second harvester ship, Captain Tom Brady led another boarding party. His team included Sergeant Alina Vasquez from the European Defense Force and a group of volunteers from the Happy Traveler. Among them was Dr. Alex Kim, a retired military medic who had insisted on joining the mission. "Contact front," Lena called out as more mechanical defenders appeared. Her squad opened fire, their weapons echoing through the metal corridors. The volunteers fought alongside the Marines with surprising effectiveness. These were ordinary people, teachers, engineers, doctors, but they had something the harvesters had never encountered. They had chosen to be here. They were fighting, not for conquest or survival, but to help strangers they had never met. Meanwhile, on the third harvester ship, Captain Pete Williams led his mining crew through the alien passages. His team carried industrial cutting tools and excavation charges, turning mining equipment into weapons of liberation. "Charlie, use the plasma cutter on that door," Pete ordered. "Bobby, set charges on those support beams. We're going to open this place up like a tin can." All across the three ships, human boarding parties pushed deeper into the mechanical interiors. They faced automatic defenses, maze-like passages, and energy barriers. But they kept moving forward, driven by the knowledge that billions of trapped beings waited for rescue in the central core of the lead ship. Jake Morrison's team finally found what they were looking for. The consciousness storage chamber was enormous, filled with millions of crystalline matrices that pulsed with trapped life. Each crystal contained the mind of a being that had been absorbed by the harvesters. "My God," Lisa whispered, staring at the vast chamber. "There must be billions of them." Keth-7's form brightened with hope and horror. So many species, so many lives stolen. Mike Johnson set his Marines to guard the entrances while Lisa and Keth-7 worked to understand the storage system. "Can we free them?" Jake asked. "I think so," Lisa replied, her fingers flying over her portable computer. "The Zephyrian technology should be compatible, but we need to shut down the main power core first, or the release process could kill them." "Then that's what we do," Jake decided. He activated his radio. "All teams, we need to find and destroy the main power cores. The consciousness storage is tied to the ship's primary systems." Across the three harvester vessels, human teams began searching for the central power sources. They fought through waves of mechanical defenders, used explosives to blast through barriers, and showed the kind of stubborn determination that had made humanity a spacefaring species. Captain Brady's team found the second ship's power core, a massive reactor that hummed with ancient energy. "Set the charges," Brady ordered. "Everyone out in 5 minutes." The explosion that followed lit up space like a new star. The second harvester ship began to shut down, its systems failing one by one. The trapped consciousnesses within began to stir as their prison weakened. On the third ship, Pete Williams and his miners had found a different solution. Instead of destroying the power core, they were redirecting its energy. "If we can reverse the polarity," Pete explained, "we might be able to use their own systems to free the trapped minds." It was dangerous work, but the miners were used to handling powerful equipment in hostile environments. They rewired the alien systems with human ingenuity and a complete disregard for safety protocols. Back on the lead ship, Jake's team was racing against time. The harvesters had realized what the humans were trying to do, and more defenders were pouring into the central chamber. "Hold them off, Jake," ordered Mike Johnson. "Whatever it takes." The Marines formed a defensive line, their weapons blazing as wave after wave of mechanical spiders attacked. Beside them, the volunteers from the Happy Traveler fought with improvised weapons and fierce determination. Almost there, Lisa called out, working frantically with the consciousness storage controls. Just a few more minutes? Those minutes felt like hours as the battle raged around the storage chamber. Marines fell, but others took their place. The volunteers showed courage that amazed even the professional soldiers. Finally, Lisa looked up with tears in her eyes. "I've got it. I can reverse the process." "Do it," Jake said. The chamber filled with light as billions of trapped consciousnesses began to wake up. The crystalline matrices glowed brighter and brighter as minds that had been imprisoned for millions of years suddenly found themselves free. All across the 3 harvester ships, the same miracle was happening. The storage systems released there. Prisoners and beings from 1,000 species found themselves alive again. Many were immediately transferred to new bodies that the Zephyrians had prepared. Others remained as energy beings, finally free to move and think independently. The harvester ships themselves began to shut down as their primary purpose was defeated. Without the trapped minds to provide processing power, the ancient machines lost their coordination and intelligence. In space, the human fleet watched in amazement as the massive ships went dark. The threat that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years was finally ended. Admiral Sullivan opened a channel to all ships. Mission accomplished. The harvesters are defeated and the trapped beings are free, but the real victory was yet to come. Over the following days, the rescued beings told their stories. They spoke of civilizations lost, of art and science that had been thought destroyed forever. They thanked the humans, not just for freeing them, but for showing them that hope could survive even the darkest times. Years later, the galaxy would remember this day as the moment everything changed. The humans had shown that even the most ancient evils could be defeated by beings who refused to give up. And when new threats emerged, when other species faced extinction, they knew they could call for help, because somewhere in the galaxy, the humans were listening, ready to answer when someone needed them most.